Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really compelling hypothetical case study. It's designed to teach us some critical lessons about health information.
Right.
We're framing it around a kind of tragic medical mystery involving famous figures in this story, Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa.
Okay.
And we're using Professor Lin's article, Hantavirus, The Tragedy of the Movie Star Couple, which itself leans on a JAMA article. The goal is really to, avoid rumors and prevent misleading information.
hmm
So our mission today is to unpack how this specific scenario really highlights the dangers of, misinterpreting symptoms and just how important accurate information is. How does a case like this challenge our thinking?
It's a great setup because this kind of detailed hypothetical scenario, it perfectly shows the challenge of critical thinking when it comes to health. Common symptoms, things you might just brush off.
Yeah, like the flu or something.
Yeah, exactly. They can tragically hide something much more serious, much rarer. It really forces you to think about when common knowledge might actually lead you down the wrong path.
Absolutely. So let's get into the scenario. It's set in early 2025. Betsy Arakawa, who was a classical musician, tragically passes away from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome.
The HPS.
And then just a week later, her husband, the actor Gene Hackman, he also dies. Different causes: severe heart disease, late-stage Alzheimer's, kidney failure, even signs of long-term malnourishment, but it just adds to the tragedy.
Terrible situation, even hypothetically.
But here's where it gets really interesting for our deep dive the days before Betsy died. What did we learn about what she was doing online? What was she searching for?
Yeah, this is the core of the cautionary tale, I think. So between February 8th and 12th, right before she died, Betsy was online a lot.
Looking for what?
She was searching for symptoms of COVID-19 flu symptoms, even specific things like, does COVID cause dizziness or nosebleeds? It's classic self-diagnosis based on general symptoms.
Which could be anything, really.
Precisely. And that's the big question it raises, right?
Huh.
How do these, really well-known symptoms for common stuff like flu or COVID maybe mask or obscure something rare like hantavirus?
That's such a critical point. Relying just on Dr. Google can be so dangerous. Let's dig into the biomedical details of HPS, the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, from that JAMA article. What makes it start so tricky?
Well, that's exactly it. HPS, which you find mostly here in the Western Hemisphere, it starts out looking terrifyingly like the flu. Fever, chills, feeling wiped out, muscle aches, headache.
Standard stuff.
Right. And maybe some stomach issues too, nausea, abdominal pain. But the real danger is how fast it turns. After maybe 4 to 10 days, bam, it can suddenly get much worse.
How so?
You get this severe difficulty breathing, a cough that won't quit.
Mm.
It often leads to critical respiratory distress. And the scary part, about a third of people who get to that respiratory stage, they don't make it.
Wow, 1/3 fatality? That's high.
It is. It's a rapid, severe jump from what feels like just a bad flu. Oh, and just briefly, there's another type, HFRS, hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, that's more common in Europe and Asia. Different symptoms, same family of viruses.
Okay, so back to Betsy. Given how deceptive those early symptoms are, how do they think she actually got exposed? There were some surprising details about their place in New Mexico, right?
Yeah, another really key detail from the investigation. So their main house, reportedly clean, well kept, but they found rodent nests and feces in attached outbuildings, like sheds or garages connected to the house.
Ah.
So the thinking is those were the likely source of the infection for Betsy. It really highlights, practical environmental health, how pathogens can just be lurking nearby, maybe in a place you don't go into very often.
That makes sense. So thinking about prevention, for you listening, what are the best ways to avoid something like this, based on the source?
It really boils down to keeping wild rodents out, especially mice, out of your house, your car, sheds, any enclosed space.
Seal things up.
Exactly. And if you do have to clean up areas where there might be rodent waste droppings, urine, nesting stuff, always wear plastic or rubber gloves.
Okay.
Make sure the area is well ventilated. And this is crucial. Wet the area down first with disinfectant or a bleach solution. Use a sponge or mop. Don't sweep.
Why not sweep?
Sweeping or even vacuuming can stir up dust and make tiny virus particles airborne. You breathe them in, and that's how you get infected. Wet cleaning prevents that.
Got it. Avoid sweeping. Okay, so let's bring it all together. What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think this deep dive really shows that critical difference between symptoms sounding similar and what's actually going on medically. It's a huge reminder, right? Information is everywhere, but real critical thinking means knowing when to stop Googling and actually get, verified professional medical advice.
Yeah.
Your health isn't just a search result. You can't just assume because your symptoms match the first thing you find online.
So, final thought then. In this age where we have all this information literally in our pockets, how do we get better at discerning what's real? How do we understand what's happening in our own bodies and avoid these kinds of misleading interpretations? Especially when the stakes, like in this tragic hypothetical story, are just so incredibly high. Something for you to think about.